Hi folks, in this text set you are looking at Modernist manifestos. So these are texts that directly engage with things like craft and form. Now as we move into the Modernist movement, there is a conscious rejection of traditional style. And at the same time, there's this sort of urge to define a new style, which would come to be known as modernism itself. However, we also during this period start to see authors think more intellectually and artistically about their craft and about their form. And so we see, authors directly sort of advocating or arguing or explaining those things in their manifestos about craft and style. You also have a ton of variation in craft and style in the modernist movement. And a great example of this is the big two, Hemingway and F. Scott Fitzgerald. So Hemingway was known for his theory of omission, which he termed iceberg theory. And this is a style where writers leave a lot beneath the surface. The premise of an iceberg that you only see the tip and everything else is beneath the surface. That's Hemingway's style. His style is very sparse. It's very economic. It's very plain. As a matter of fact, his novel that won him a Nobel was written at a 4th to 5th grade reading level. I mean, it's super simple language, but Hemingway conveys his craft and his themes through subtext, through reading beyond what's on the page. Versus F. Scott Fitzgerald, he is known for very rich description, very sort of lush language and style in the way that he tells his stories. And these are the big two of the modernist movement, right? As a matter of fact, this sort of difference in Hemingway's economic subtext and F. Scott Fitzgerald's sort of rich descriptive symbolism, this would come to be a source of conflict between the two men later in life. They patently disagreed about what was the best way to, write a story in prose. Now, this is just an example of this sort of debate. And with these manifestos that you're going to read from T.S. Eliot and Ezra Pound, there is a discussion of what style should look like in poetry. Now, T.S. Eliot wrote some of the most foundational texts to the modernist movement, which are lengthy poems, The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock, and The Wasteland, and these are seminal modernist texts. They're lengthy, but they're seminal modernist poems, and you are reading from his manifesto on talent and the artist. And then Ezra Pound, who is also a very important modernist writer, you're reading excerpts from his retrospect and a few notes on poetry. As well, you can take a look at Gertrude Stein, who Gertrude Stein was like a mentor of sorts to Ernest Hemingway. I mean, she is one of the big names in the movement as well, and she is writing about composition and art in her manifesto. So as you're reading, you want to think about the different ways that these authors are thinking about style and craft, the differences between them, and the similarities between them that reflect that move towards a more intellectual or artistic approach to style.